Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing a pre-launch review of possibly the most ULU condo of 2026, Tengah Gardens, which is the first condo to be coming out in Tengah. Now preliminarily, we know that this is launching around March to April this year. So I'm gonna be running through what the estimated pricing might be, as well as whether you'll be able to exit from this if you do enter into it. So stay tuned because some of the numbers I found researching this were really quite surprising. So without further ado, let's get started. So diving in first to the location and the details we do know. So this is of course located in Tengah Township, which is a huge new town that in itself is already separated into 6 districts. So this will be in the Garden District. So the Garden District sits on the periphery of Tengah, so you might be able to get some waterfront views here. This plot is also located right next to Hongkar MRT, which will complete around next year. In terms of the size, you're looking at about 862 units with commercial at the first story, so likely you're going to have some shops, groceries, eateries right downstairs. So the developer that is handling this is Hong Leong, CSC and Guaco. Quite the triple threat. We've seen them in recent launches like Springleaf and Lentor Central, which did really well in initial launch. So the estimated TOP, and I want you to keep this number in your mind, is 2030 because this is going to affect our exit strategy later on. How are we going to estimate what the starting price here might be since there's no information on that yet? Now, developers usually have pricing strategies that very often we see them repeat. So in order to get a good gauge, we're going to look at 2 recent launches by the same developer, which is Springleaf and Lentor Central. So what we are trying to figure out here is for Tengah Gardens, what the starting price for a 3-bedroom could be, as well as the average PSF. So looking at the average PSF of Springleaf and Lentor, notice that it is about 2.2 to 2.4 times the price of the land bid over here. So this factors in all the construction, marketing costs, etc. So using that same rule of thumb, this means that for Tengah Gardens, we could get an average PSF of 1970. Now, if they do follow the same sizing for 3-bedroom as Springleaf, then the starting size will be about 786 square feet, which means the starting quantum here will be 1.55 million. This is going to be an extremely attractive quantum for a 3-bedroom because for new in the market, you will not be able to find something at this price anymore. Now the other question is, this is the first condo in Tengah, but how does the price compare to the ECs that have already launched there? Because we've seen in other towns that ECs can have a negative impact on the condo price. Now put yourselves in the shoes of a buyer. If you choose a location already, there are ECs and condos next to each other in the same place, but the EC is much cheaper. Is a no-brainer for most. So in this case, how does it compare? Now in Singapore, we see the average gap for a new condo versus EC is about 20 to 40% in terms of price. Most recently, for a similar example, we have Park Town, which is also next to a MRT as a condo, versus Aura EC, which launched shortly after. Now the gap for that was 600 PSF, which is about 30%. Now comparing that to Tengah, it really shocked me when I saw the numbers because if we do get 1970 PSF as the average here, the average for the ECs are already at 1700 plus, which means a 200 to 300 PSF difference. Now, for perspective, if they do size the 3-bedroom at 786 square feet, this would mean to upgrade to a condo, you just need to pay about 150k here, versus the average difference we saw earlier, which is close to 500k to go from an EC to condo. So in Tengah's case, I would say it's quite the opposite, where the ECs are actually going to make this condo look like the more attractive option. Moving on to exit strategy, what do Punggol and Jurong have in common with Tengah? A lot of HDBs and HDB upgraders. So let's take a closer look at how HDBs that are going to MOP in the area will affect condo prices. So first we have Punggol. Now I know this chart may look like a lot, but it's really crucial that you understand, so I'm going to go through slowly part by part. Now the blue bars you see over here, this represents new condos coming into the area. Whereas for the red bars over here, this represents MOP HDBs. And for this line, this is average condo price. So the first scenario we want to understand is what happens when there is more private than HDB. Now where do we see that happening? In 2012 over here. And what happened to prices? prices went down for condo. Now, how about when there is a similar supply for both private and HDB? Now, where do we see that happening? Now, you see that happening here in 2014 to 2016, and prices stagnated. Now, lastly, what happens when there is more HDB than private? And that's seen in 2017 and 2020 onwards, and prices have gone up. Now, why does this happen? If you have a bunch of HDB upgraders that have sold, now they're looking for condos in the same district and there's not a lot of supply, the sellers of the condos are going to be the one controlling the pricing and pushing it upwards. Now, let's see if the same logic applies to Jurong. Now, here we see that condo supply is more than the MOP HDB, and what happened to the prices? It went down. Now, on the opposite end, when there is more HDB here, again with no condo supply, what happened to the prices? It went up. So we do know that MOP HDBs can affect condo prices a lot, especially if you know how to spot the supply. You will be able to choose the right exit timing. Now, how does that apply to Tengah? Now, looking at this chart, the red again is MOP HDBs, whereas for the blue, it is MOP ECs as well as condos. So here will be where Tengah 2013 Tengah Gardens TOP as well as Copen Grand. And then here will be Novo EC MOP. Now, notice for every other year, the supply of MOP HDBs is much higher. Now, if I'm someone going to Tengah Gardens purely for investment, I would suggest you sell by 2029 before there's even any condo supply or MOP ECs to compete with you. If you're buying for own stay, try to ride out the first wave of EC sellers. But even if you don't, the ratio of the number of BTOs versus condos and even resale ECs is so drastically wide. There's 30,000 BTOs planned for Tengah, so you don't even need everybody to come and buy from you. You just need a very small percentage of that. So in this case, I would say the supply is really a no-brainer. You will be able to control the pricing in Tengah. So you have this huge pool of buyers, but can they afford at the price you want to sell at in the future for a profit? Now, first let's look at the purchase price for a BTO in Tengah. Now, 4 bedrooms on average, they entered at 348,000 before subsidy. Now, how much can they sell for and how do we estimate since there is no MOP ones yet? Now, you take the closest example, which is Bukit Batok. So for newer 4 bedroom, on average, they are going at 780,000 there. So taking the selling and purchase price, how much will a Tengah upgrader get back? They'll get back 432k plus 100k in CPF just as an estimate from their down payment as well as accumulated over time, which means a total of 532k that they can use to down pay for their next condo purchase. So assuming the entry price at 1.55 million, this means down payment plus buyer stamp duty is 434k. So at this entry price, the upgrader will be able to go in easily, no problem. Now, what if you want to sell at a profit, let's say 300k? Now, at 1.85 million, buyer stamp duty and down payment is 524k. So with the 532k, it's still very comfortable for them to purchase even at your profit price, and many of them will be able to do so without coming out extra cash. So overall, I'd say the affordability is there for those that will sell their Tengah BTO in the future. Now, overall, I would say that with the very low competition in the area, a huge future buyer pool that has healthy affordability, Tengah Gardens is going to be very strong in demand if they launch at the pricing that we estimate, even with the reputation of a ULU location. Now, of course, there are a lot of other factors to consider, like layout as well as the unit types. So if you want to be the first to know as more information comes out, or if this is suitable for your goals, you're welcome to drop me a message at the listed contacts below, and I'll catch you all in the next video.